Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear audiences, today I have started a lecture series on the book of Malik Badri entitled as Dilemma of Muslim Psychologists. Today I will discuss how Malik Badri dedicated this seminal work to the scholars who were from the South Asia or from the West Asia, and he was influenced from the scholars from the South Asia and the West Asia. Even he was influenced by European scholars as well during his practice. He was a practicing psychologist. He is a trailblazer in the field of Islamic psychology. First of all, we will define Islamic psychology. What is Islamic psychology? Islamic psychology is defined as the subject that which deals about the study about the human behavior from the perspective of Islam. We analyze the behavior of a Muslim through the lens of Quran and the Sunnah. So there are several critique on this definition. Even this definition is not so much defined because it emerges from the different fields: philosophy, fiqh, tasawwuf, and so many sources are there. So it is not a compatible definition till now. But there are some psychologists, for example, Carrie Al-Karam from Al-Karam Institute, UK. She states that until now there is a definite, a particular definition of Islamic psychology. So the scholars are working on the field, and in contemporary times, Islamic psychology gained a momentum for its development around the world. Even two Muslim psychologists, Amber Haq and the another scholar Amber Haq and then Yasin Muhammad, they wrote a book, Islamic psychology around the world, Islamic psychology around the globe. In this book, they have discussed the contemporary scenario of Islamic psychology, and they have discussed how Islamic psychology established its roots in the European countries, in the subcontinent, in the African countries. So, after the analysis of this book, there are about 93 associations which are concerned with the discipline. So, how he dedicated this work to the some scholars of the field who were who were the groundbreaking contributors who encouraged the Malik Badri to introduce a separate field, that he also discussed that modern psychology from Islamic perspective. So this study, in his dedication, that the dedication section of his book, this study is dedicated to Muslim pioneers who broke the chains of mental slavery to Western theories and the practices of the social sciences. In this sentence, states that the mental slavery. Mental slavery is a kind of the coercive slavery, where Muslims are analyzing the different perspectives of the human from the lens of the modern psychology. Even that psychology is based on the based on those kind of theories which were uh, which were which were created, which were formulated from the studies of animals. So they drastically negated the spiritual aspect of the man. So, chain of a mental slavery is a powerful emancipatory metaphor, framing Western social sciences dominance as a bondage of mental slavery rather than neutral bondage. The diction in this sentence, words like broke, chains, and a mental and a slavery convey a struggle, resistance, liberation, indicating the decolonial stance. And the decolonization of the psychology is very much important. And colonization of the mind is colonization of the Muslim mind is this is a big danger from the Muslim Ummah. So the ideological repositioning is very much important. So it was the Malik Badri who put the efforts to reshape the psychology from Islamic perspective. Western theories are implicitly positioned as the hegemonic and the coercive, not merely influential. The hegemony is due to the power dynamic. Power dynamic is, I mean to say, it is a triggering factor for the introduction of ideas, from the introduction of ideologies, different kinds of isms. So there are certain theories that some Muslim scholars, some scholars states that the power dynamic is not important, is not as such important to introduce the concepts, to introduce the theories, because as we know, our classical scholars, our our imams, just like I mean to say here, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal was tortured by the rulers of that period on the issue of Halke Quran. This was the issue, Halke Quran, but he did not utter a single word, single sentence. Even he accepted the torture of prison, accepted the different kinds of atrocities, but Muslim scholars never bow, never prostrate in front of those powerful rulers, those powerful states. This was the stance of Muslim scholars. So this hegemonic and coercive, not merely intellectual, essential, it signals a critical interpretation, a research paradigm rejecting positivist neutrality and aligning with the epistemic resistance and Islamization of knowledge discourse. This epistemic resistance of the Muslim psychologists is a big dilemma, and Muslim psychologists should aware about the epistemological bias in the production of the knowledge. Dr. Badri dedicated this book to the modern moments of Islamization of social sciences. The scholars from the South Asia, from the Indian subcontinent, and the Sayyid Qutb and his brother Muhammad Qutb, and he also dedicated this work to Maryam Jamila. She is a professor of Sufism, his area of interest. He wrote a book different books on the Sufism, father of modern movements, form a collective conformation, and the inclusion of Sister Maryam Jamila in his dedication section, it depicts that the inclusion of depictor subtly disrupts the male-centric intellectual tradition. This is the scholarly approach where nobody in the future can claim that he was not favoring the scholarship of the females. And this is gender inclusion aspect of Malik Badri, and the methodological implications. This work situates itself with a tradition anchored theoretical framework revealing Islam intellectual history as a legitimate source of theory. So in this book, he stressed on the tradition anchored theories and the practices. Even he discussed the role of the Muslim psychologists in the field, and these pioneers have exposed the atheistic and the Judeo-Christian background of the Western social sciences and their distorted concept of human nature. The word's exposure, distorted indicates a normative critique and epistemological biases. So in this section, they have thus emancipated the way for the new generation of emancipated Islamic social scientists. The word thus establishes a logical progression from critique to reconstruction. Identity construction, emancipated Islamic social scientists signals a new scholarly identity free from the intellectual dependence. So in this book, he has criticized the psychoanalysis school of thought, behaviorism school of thought, existential school of thought. So many thoughts. Even he did not critique the ideas of Sigmund Freud, but sometimes he appreciated the techniques, the interpretative techniques that even Muslim psychologists can use. But he is not compatible with thoughts of the Muslim scholars who are making the compatibility, who are comparing and contrasting id, ego, and the superego with the Quranic concepts of the nafs ammara, nafs lawama, nafs mutmainna. Even this is the big dilemma among the Muslim psychologists. So this book is also dedicated to budding group of Muslim psychologists and psychiatrists in the Muslim world, in America and Europe, who are developing their career to lay the foundation of Islamic psychology. This temporal orientation budding group highlight the every evolving the discipline, global scope, the mention of Muslim world, America and Europe reflects the traditional epistemic struggle. Institutional metaphor lay the foundation from frames Islamic psychology as a discipline under construction. And as soon as I will upload the different series on the dilemma of Muslim psychologists, and this was today's lecture on the dedication section of the book of Malik Badri. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.